AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Yeah.
It's there. We hear it.
I love that.
It's coming.
Still the best, one of the best songs to intro a show.
I dig it. Good choice, Marc Maron.
It's a toe tapper.
It's a toe tapper.
We're going to say the same thing every week.
It's a toe tapper, that's right. Welcome, everyone, to the Maron After Show right here on AFTERBUZZ TV. We are on episode 4 of season 3. Episode 4, Racegate.
Yes.
And that's what we're embarking on tonight.
That was my favorite. Where Blake and I are sitting in the lovely AfterBuzz Theater and watching the show. Last week was about his ex-wife. You know, easy topic. This week it was just, hey, Mark, you don't have black people on your podcast. And then about halfway through the episode, Blake's like, this is going to be interesting.
This is going to be a fun one. Totally. Now, you, of course, can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV, and for all of your podcasting pleasures on SoundCloud and iTunes.
Now that we're just going for it,
I know.
How about some more plugs? I'm going to say
Throw them out there. Let's do it.
It's the brand new one. You can go hit up, like, we love when you comment, you tweet, everything. Just go hit up podcast1.com. There's a listener survey. It just takes a couple minutes, and all the feedback really helps us here at the show. You can tell us how you really feel about our show or Maron or whatever shows you watch. Just hit up podcast1.com and keep all the tweets and comments coming. We love it, guys.
That's right. And kick us off tonight with your comments by reaching out to us on Twitter at #ABTVMaron. Let's get the conversation going. I am your host, Blake V. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Blake V Media.
One of the best follows on social media, Blake V Media.
Jared.
Great periscoping. Always a good, like you're out and about. And then your show with your friend.
That's right. We got the YouTube show Winos and Onesies.
It's great. You can find me at Gilkerson Radio on Twitter. And I do some periscoping, so when I come, just dive in.
He's got some intense periscope game, let me just
a little
say.
bit.
Talk about a good periscope follow, this guy right here.
Oh, thank you.
You know.
Wow, really? just like this person's the best. No, you're the best. Okay, let's host a show.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
On that note, guys. So tonight's episode, hilarious as always, very interesting. Let's kick it off. So we begin this episode with this article written in Salon, which everyone is talking about Marc Maron and the fact that he has no black guests on his podcast.
Yeah, and my dumb question, I was like, "What's Salon?" I feel like such a moron.
It's okay. It's good to learn things every day, Jared.
Yeah. You're like, it's a magazine? Oh, yeah, I know Okay, I know magazines.
Reading happens.
Yes, I do
there
read.
Are articles.
If there are pictures, I will.
True.
I will.
True.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah, so it became a huge topic of discussion with him and his friend. Was it David, right?
Yes, Dave.
And
Dave, man.
Manipulative, like just
so manipulative.
Yeah, really pushing it forward. Maron didn't think much of it. Oh no, in comedy, it's very segregated. Like you got your black clubs, and like I don't play for black people, and then I don't work for those audiences, like that kind of thing. And comedy can be very, and that's not even like I'm turning up like Maron right now. Like I'm nervous. I'm nervous to talk. No, but that's the way comedy is sometimes. But it's great to see him
tackle the issue head on and just talk about it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's something that exists. Here we are. And the first tip off about Dave, how good a friend Dave is, was at the very beginning when he reads the article and he's like, I'm going to go ahead and kick off the hashtag here, no black guests on Maron. Yeah. He's like, oh, thanks, Dave. You're a great friend. So he sets the tone for himself the entire episode.
Yeah, he said I'm just trying to get ahead and like
right,
cut this off at the pass.
Right.
Yeah, like,
trying to get ahead of this.
He's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Which is horrible. Like zero support for Mark.
Yeah, which
Thanks,
makes for
Dave.
a good show. But a really crappy friend.
Totally does.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, like just imagine, okay, if you're in this scenario, you're in the midst of this potential scandal, this potential issue, and then your best buddy is like throwing you under the bus.
Now that you mention that, I mean, a lot of you know what? I actually kind of hope I'd have a friend because it's not a scandal to begin with. You know, it's kind of a manufactured scandal. You know, you know what I mean? Someone just said it in a magazine.
Right, like an accusation.
So, you know, I think most comedians and their friends with, you know, like would just rib each other anyways. So I'm changing. I wish I had a friend like that. If I had a time of crisis, I would hope they would kind of make it into something else. Like just kind of make it bigger.
Steer you right. As Dave thought he was doing for Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. But
good to know, Jared. Good to know.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I like that.
But they all would do it. Like, you know, comedians, we both like comedy. They would totally do that. Like,
completely.
Yeah.
I feel like of anyone, a group of comedian friends are the first to be jerks to you.
Yeah.
You know, with love, I guess.
Usually. Yeah. Unless you're not in the group a lot, then it's a really odd feeling.
Then
like
it's really offensive.
Yeah. It's really, to some, yeah. Or yeah, to you that day.
Exactly.
So what happens next? He goes, so he has to pretty much prove.
Right. He decides he really needs to get into it, to take this situation on and go visit a black club.
Yeah. Which I think is in my neighborhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said it was on Pico.
Yes, next to the Roscoe's.
Near Roscoe's, and that's very close to where I live. I won't give my exact location, fans.
We need address now, Jared.
Well, yeah, you could probably find it somehow pretty easily. It's out there somewhere.
Uh-oh.
But,
don't encourage
you
people.
know, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't live there anymore. But, yeah, there's a club there, and I've never been. I guess I should be nervous about that.
Right.
I've
now
never
you
been
need
there.
to take on the Marc Maron challenge.
Yeah.
Go ahead to that same club.
I've been to the white clubs.
Oh, Jared. Jared.
Kidding, yeah.
But would be funny if that really was the club and maybe they really filmed there. That would also be funny.
Well, the exterior definitely was. But I don't know if they shot it. I don't know what the inside looks like. Of course I don't.
Of course you don't. He's never been. All right. Yeah, so the interaction that he begins to have inside the comedy club, hilarious. Runs into Kyle Irby, who kind of befriends him, shows him the ropes of the black club. Funny. All, you know, really, really a nice guy and a nice experience, but made out to just be like so...
Well, yeah.
You know, just like so blatant and so funny. And it was very interesting when they were in the back too, just kind of having the conversation in the green room and really calling out the situation for what it is.
Yeah, they're both making they're both making great points. And I love how Maron didn't turn into the like groveling guilty guy. Right. He just kind of spoke his point. You know, like, oh, to quote the show, they can bleep me if they want. But I love his Richard Pryor quote, if I can find it. Oh, no. Oh, he said, oh, darn it. I need to find this. Oh, keep talking. I need to find my quote.
Like,
no, yeah,
I thought that was the quote.
Sorry.
Quote, keep talking. I need to find my quote.
It's
That's
live
okay,
on YouTube, and I'm just
That's okay,
I'm
Jared.
flabbergasted
That's okay.
right
That's
now.
okay.
I
You
can't
can-
read my own writing.
You'll find
this
it.
is terrible.
No,
there it is.
You'll come to it.
Pryor, they're talking about how black comedians couldn't be sensitive on stage. Like, they have to be powerful.
Right. They couldn't be vulnerable.
Yeah.
They had to be like tough, hold the crowd.
And then he says how Pryor talked about sucking a dick on stage.
Yep.
And he's like, that's very vulnerable. And he goes, well, yeah, you couldn't get away with that anymore.
Yeah.
But both sides were making really cool points. You know, it was like, oh, I see that. From
And then the
both
female
ends.
comedian said, I talked about that last night.
Oh, yeah. That was a good line. That was a good line. But yeah,
totally
it's
a
true.
good line. I know. I mean, I guess, you know, it really brings up this kind of like known but unspoken situation in comedy and outside of comedy. It's like, you know, the whole interplay with race in general, with any different any different racial group. It's just kind of like there's always this this kind of unspoken issue or topic or thing that is like a barrier between everybody equally. And so to bring it up in this particular scenario of the episode tonight, bringing it into the comedy forum is like a perfect representation. It's like it's everywhere, unfortunately, and here it is yet again in the comedy arena. You know,
it's the best forum to. It's one of my favorite forums to bring bring up a serious topic and then put a bunch of comedians on it.
Yes,
and you'll get some stuff done.
100%.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to talk about anything sensitive or anything important, anything controversial, like the best way to do it is in comedy with humor. That's like the ice-breaking way to just really put it out there.
Yeah, and you said you first said issue and then you said topic because it's almost like they're talking about a topic that's not a problem. It's kind of just is what it is. You know what I mean? The problem that he's being forced into by his friends is you don't have any black people on the podcast. So, okay, then that could be an issue for a show or whatever. But there's no issue with different people liking different things. And I think they kind of both, when they had that kind of conversation, that was the cool part because Maron never felt guilty. They never really got his side either. They're kind of just saying, we got to be powerful on stage, and then like you can sleep on stage, and then he goes, well, but I also can't perform in front of black people, and he goes, the one time I did,
right?
So it was like a normal conversation without any there was no guilt. It was just a conversation, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
It was kind of just, hey, things are different, and that's what they are, and there's nothing bad about it. So,
yes,
yeah.
Which really, I feel like that was kind of like the safest zone of this whole entire episode. It's like the whole episode, you had Dave like really stirring the pot, trying to get Mark in trouble every turn, and then the counterpart to that, of course, was like Bruce and his crew, kind of being on the opposite end of that, and kind of saying, how dare you accuse us and stuff. But really, that moment in the club when they were all kind of chatting in the back was like the safe zone. I feel like they really were talking about it truly like non-judgmentally. And just kind of like, it is what it is.
Yeah,
this
they're
is
all
how
just
it
bringing
was.
up their points.
Yep.
They're separate. They're like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how this thing this whole thing gets started, this whole snowball effect. It only gets started because of one person's article for a magazine, which is the most true statement in this whole episode, how something could be blown up as being, this is a huge issue, when it's pretty much a huge issue for one person who wrote an article.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It like comes full circle.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an issue to begin with, and then it is.
Yeah, because of social media, and it's like, oh, this must be a big issue now because someone's saying it.
Well, that guy and Dave.
Yeah, well, Dave. Yeah, Dave's just in another world.
Right. So, from the comedy club, I think the idea was brought up that perhaps Mark should have Bruce on the podcast. And then
love me some Bruce.
I know, right? And of course, Mark does too. And he says, I'd love to have him on the show. Like, hook me up. How do I make this connection? So so he speaks to like a buddy in his entourage or the agent or some person who knows him. Maybe
he just
a
kind of
buddy
works
in his
for him as like an
entourage.
assistant.
Okay. One of his employees. Who says, yeah, Marc Maron, I can get you that connection, Marc Maron. Let's hook it up, Marc Maron.
Yeah, just being intimidating.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like the usage of the full name.
Yeah.
But yes, hooks him up with an appearance with Bruce on the podcast. Next, we see Bruce and crew rolling up into Maron's garage studio.
Yeah, which they're ripping on him for.
Totally.
Which is kind of funny.
Hilarious.
Because it is.
It is.
But it's also like, but it's also uber successful. So it's like, yeah, I broadcast out of my garage, but
Right. They're like,
you're here.
the tool shed.
You're here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like the shift in the episode really took place, of course, when the crew comes in to do the podcast, and then Mark says, oh, hey guys, it's just a one-on-one deal. I'm just going to interview Bruce on my own because that's the way it's done. That's the way I like to do my interviews. And of course, they're like, oh, no, it's cool. We'll just hang out. He's like, no. Go ahead and wait in the backyard.
No.
Yeah, no. Go ahead and wait in the backyard. And that was like immediately the shift in the episode.
It's kind of chilly out there, so we'll just go to the house.
We're just going to wait in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, I will just say this.
I love the hesitation. Just because it's already halfway into it, and now it's like, oh, he's hesitant, and then he has got it great. That's like his best acting. He's like, oh, just being awkward.
Right.
Okay. And he has a way of doing it without even, it's just funny in a way that most people, to be being honest, would react.
Yeah.
Like with any group of, like, and I'm not even being guilty white guy right now.
No.
With any group of people, you're like, I'm not putting them in my house.
Yes,
Yeah.
like that's exactly what I was going to say too. I was like, I'm just going to say this right now. I don't care who it was. A group of any people that I don't know, like any people. Geez, even my family half the time I would be like,
Yeah.
My house,
Yeah.
like I'm just super sensitive about my stuff
Yeah.
and my space and my things.
But it just
and
looks so much
I'm like,
worse
just wait in the backyard.
in this
But of
way.
course, exactly. When
Yeah.
put in a specific scenario, it's gonna look bad, which is exactly what Mark ran into.
Yeah.
That's the exact scenario it was. It was like, oh, why can't we wait in your house? What are you implying, Mark? What is happening here? So of course, he lets the crew into the house, and sits them down. And of course, they wait until the Bruce podcast is done. And
Which I love. Remember how I was saying it seems so natural? There's almost this, it's almost so natural that you kind of step out of the show for a minute, because then you kind of see that they are friends, but that doesn't bother me. Like, it's someone that might like traditional TV, maybe they'd be like, oh, what is this? They seem like buddies now. But fans of his podcast like we are, it's kind of fun to see him be like, oh yeah, they're gonna yuck it up for like 30 seconds and then
Yeah.
we'll go back to the show.
I love
it's
it.
kind of fun.
I think it's one of the greatest parts of his whole series is the fact that he interlaces the whole podcast world with the show because he doesn't have to. He could constantly make mention of it, but never really like, you know, interact the guests or the actual footage in that way.
Sure.
But he does it in a great way. You're right.
Yeah,
It's
that'd be too
supernatural.
sitcom-y if he didn't.
Yeah, but he could.
He could pull it off.
You know, definitely these could take place episodically and have nothing to do with that. But it's, you know, it's him. It's what he does for work. It's his podcast. It's a great way for guest cameos. So, of course, it's the perfect opportunity to pop that into the show.
Yeah.
So the podcast goes on. It's great. They go back to the house and Mark walks in on the crew just high as could be. Just smoking away, and they've got the cat. They've got his cat with him. Oh my God, that's what I would die about. I would be like, oh my God, how dare you, my cat, the nerve.
And then we find out it was all Dave,
right?
Just giving them weed.
Dave, man.
Yeah, no.
Just at every turn, you know.
That was it was also a good quote by Mark. Why he was right before he walked back into the house when he says. When Bruce is like, you just don't know how to have a good time. And he goes, I think I have a good time sometimes. I can't remember.
That was the funniest line.
Great.
And the way he said it, he's just so...
I can't remember.
Yeah, like straightforward and just like honest and just a little confused.
Yeah, he just doesn't know.
I think I do, but I don't really know, Bruce.
I'm sure a lot of people say that to themselves. Yeah. I'm sure people watching right now are like...
I'm sure I have a good time.
I think I had a good time recently. Like at some point.
Can't quite recall.
But Bruce is the kind of guy like you're like, hey, look, I guess he looks like he's having a good time.
Yeah.
Like just at all times.
Yeah.
Bruce. You know, I used to yell that in college for no reason. I didn't know what it was. And I heard it in like rap and hip hop songs. And I would just be like, I had no clue who Bruce was. So we would just say it with my friends, be like, yeah, it's Bruce. And we didn't know what it was. That's it. It's a little side note.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Now I'm going to start following him.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry,
you know,
took you off the side.
No. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marc Maron.
Yeah.
You know, educating everyone.
Yeah, and he's got the double
Specifically
ponytail
Jared.
or whatever. What would you call it? It's not a ponytail.
I don't.
Corn tail. is that appropriate?
A corn tail. I don't know.
Kinda like cornrows
pretty-
into like two different spots.
tails.
Yeah, and they're long.
That was an intense do.
Yeah.
I spotted that right when we saw him. That's a creative one.
Yeah, I
for
like
sure.
it. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Back on track.
No, it's great. So I believe it was during the house during the house scene, I want to say, where they were chatting and everything. And then Bruce references having just purchased Ray Romano's house.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious because anybody who's been watching previous scenes of Maron will remember the whole Ray Romano episode where he has kind of an interaction with Ray. He's trying to kind of befriend Ray, and Ray's kind of giving him like the I don't know, like the too cool for school attitude, and he's kind of like, you can come around if you want to, but whatever. So they go to his house, and it's like hilarity ensues. You guys will have to check it out in the previous season, but hilarious, and we get to see that house. It's the same exact house as Ray Romano's previously. Well, now Bruce has purchased it. He's living in Ray Romano's house. So here, basically, is Mark's reintroduction to the whole Ray Romano situation.
Oh yeah, and he was
through
guilted
Bruce
into going there in the first place from Dave.
Completely guilted into it. Yeah, so we kind of know that the whole Ray Romano reference has been made, and that's where Bruce lives. Come to shortly thereafter find out that Mark gets done with the podcast, goes back into the living room, and the laptop is missing. And the only person there is Dave, and the only previous people there were Bruce's crew.
Yeah.
So the missing laptop, of course, Mark is not blaming anyone initially, wondering where it could be, can't find it. Dave immediately starts stirring the pot. Freaking Dave, man. Yet again.
Yeah, he was great because Dave, there's all these subtle quotes when he says, you're giving a thief a pass because he's black. Treat everyone the same. So everything is so backwards.
Reverse.
But it was great because what Dave is saying is almost true. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But then he's also trying to make Mark be just totally confused.
It's like almost true in the worst way. It's like almost true in the most aggressive, direct sort of way, Dave's approach, because it's like, well, yeah, if there's not an issue, why make it an issue?
Yeah.
But then why make it an issue if there's not an issue?
Yeah.
It's that complete double standard of this whole entire situation, which made the whole episode hilarious.
And then it's Mark Mark listening too much to him and going above and beyond as we find out.
Yeah.
Like, just pick up the phone. and
Yes.
make the call.
Yes.
Instead
Like, I'm
of
thinking-
sitting and having a marathon with them.
Completely. Like, why even make a deal of it? Like, whoever it is, call.
Yeah.
Hey, man, my laptop's missing. Just touching base.
Yeah.
Did anyone see it?
Yeah.
Does anyone know anything? Like, would it really be that
I
hard?
know.
But then again, they wouldn't have an episode. So.
That's true. We always give these like really, like this is why we don't write TV, because we would just everything would be resolved by like minute 8.
In like 5
and we'd be
minutes.
Like,
yeah.
This is terrible.
Yeah. We would lose our jobs very quickly. So there you have it. He couldn't call them and ask them. So Dave helps him concoct this ridiculous plan of, oh, well, you're not addressing the situation because they're black, and because you're not addressing the situation, you're obviously a guilty white man.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Like, how am I everything right now?
Yeah, so Mark is like, what is happening? This clearly can't be. Being guilted into it by Dave, they're like, naturally, we need to go to Bruce's house and confront him face to face, because why not, right?
Yeah, of
why
course.
wouldn't you go in person?
Immediately. Yeah.
So they go. Ray Romano's house. Lovely, lovely Hollywood Hills,
Yeah.
hillside manor,
Yeah.
really. And they encounter Bruce and crew. And the funniest part is that Mark is so painfully trying to just avoid this whole scenario, and he knows it's inevitable, really for no other reason than the fact that Dave is standing right next to him. If Dave was not there, he probably would have like hightailed it out of there before he even got to the front door. But granted, he made it through the front door. They invite him to binge watch
Mad Men. Yeah. Which is great. I love the generic music, and it's like, okay, we can't show Mad Men.
I know.
But it's like, we'll just play
not
some
at all. It's just implied.
generic 60s
Right.
elevator music.
Right. And Bruce is like, we're going to binge watch Mad Men. And Mark's like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, wait, it's not weird.
He's like, Mad Men. He's like, you like that show? Weird.
Yeah. He's like, why is that weird?
Wait, that's not weird. I don't know. And it's just great.
I know.
Because it would be that is an honest reaction, and that's not even bad saying
No.
things. That's the fun part, because people are so tiptoeing now on just normal speak.
Yep.
You know, it's almost like someone just be like, I'm like, oh, I'm inside. Like back in the day, when I was a kid, I would watch Martin. I didn't understand half the jokes. I didn't get anything, and people were like, why do you like? Oh, you watch that show? Weird. Same way.
Right.
And it's just funny how people just get so scared to say things.
I
Like,
know.
no, that's not weird. I don't know what I'm saying.
I know. It's harsh. It's a brutal reality for everyone.
Yeah.
We're living in a time.
Yeah,
man.
well, we both know that. That's for sure.
Totally. So they get in there. Really, they get kind of suckered into watching probably a good binge session of Mad Men before anything gets handled. Dave puts the kibosh on that, and he says, turns off the TV. Look, Mark has something to tell you. The most painful moment in the entire episode, I'm sure we both felt that way, where he couldn't really get out the words of really what he was there to ask.
Yeah, he was just saying it was there, now it's gone. You guys were there. Not ever do you know what happened to it.
Right.
Nothing.
Right, and who'd they call in? Stump?
Yeah, Stump. Who that might have been the best moment of the show. Bruce calls over his assistant Stump, who's kind of the goofy assistant. And then I love when he sits next to Mark and he says, scoot closer. Now, I don't even know what that's referring to. If it was scoot closer to the edge of the couch, scoot closer to Mark to get awkwardly close to him. And you're thinking right away, you're like, oh, he's guilty. Like, he steals stuff all the time. Like, and that's what Bruce was setting Mark up.
Making
I love
him confront him.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I got a little bit of that too. I definitely thought he was saying scoot closer to Mark. To make that confrontation all the more meaningful.
Awkward. Oh, yeah. And awkward.
As shall we say.
Yeah.
Yes, and hilarious and like so uncomfortable. I mean, just imagine like you're struggling so hard, like you're in Mark's shoes. You don't even really want to be there confronting this situation. You've been pressured into it by your friend. You're now being basically sat on by Stump to actually confront this scenario. He ekes out whatever information he can, and then Bruce comes along with it and says, "Look, so you're saying that my crew stole your laptop? That's what you're saying."
Yeah,
You're basically
your
saying that.
$1,000 laptop from my house in the hills.
Yeah.
You come down and Mark has one last gasp, and it's just going. He's like, "Well, He goes, "I wasn't gonna say anything." And he goes, "Because you're black, and I'm not racist."
Right.
And it was just great. When he's like, "Okay, mother," he's like Mother Teresa. What did he say? I don't know what he called Mark. He called him something, and Mark was just at that point, and then Bruce with the $100 bills.
Oh yeah.
But in making him pick up the money.
Totally.
But it was great because everyone reacted in a way that everyone would and almost should.
Yeah.
And that's not saying there's guilt there. That's saying Mark took it. Mark took everything too far with Bruce being an idiot.
Yep.
And then Dave pushed him, and he followed. Everything just went too far, and everyone should have reacted the way they did. And that's how you sum up almost everything. It's like, oh, everyone kind of reacted the way they should in this entire episode.
Yeah.
And it was great.
It's completely true. Yeah, that's exactly
you agree,
what
right? It's almost like the way people should react.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Yes, and
just don't listen to your friends.
No, and especially if you have one like Dave.
Yeah.
But it was totally true in that exact moment that you just mentioned, where Mark was having like his last piece. He was his last moment to explain, like, well, it was, I wasn't even going to do this, but it was like the whole kind of reverse racism situation, justified, explained, canceled out, with Dave sitting right there, like just like, I'm out with it. Bruce, this is what happened. This was the scenario.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really not trying to do anything crazy. Yeah. I'm here just to find my laptop. Like, let's not make it, let's not make it any more awkward than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Hilarious way to deal with
and
it.
He picked up the money and they left.
He picked up the money.
Yeah, and he forgot which way the door was too.
Yeah.
That little subtlety, just going the other way, and
makes
I forgot the door's
all the
over
difference.
here. Yeah,
totally, and just even the picking up the money, just funny. He's like, pick it up,
yeah.
And then he's like, I'm not going to pick up your money, and Dave's like, well, then you'll look too proud.
Yeah. That's because you never get the impression that Dave was seriously thinking anything. I got the impression the entire episode that Dave was just messing with Mark the entire time on
messing
purpose.
With him.
And be like,
yes.
hey, I got one over on you, and we got $1,000.
Yes,
but he's gonna donate it to the United Negro College Fund
right
instead.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah,
totally. And that exact point of feeling like Dave really was not directing anything serious towards Mark the whole time. Yeah, Mark was just like picking up the bait, going with it. Sure. Okay, we'll do all this crazy stuff, Dave, just because you say so. Just shows like their friendship and just the craziness of this whole scenario.
And it almost explains society a little bit, because I think a lot of people just follow. So they hear about some issue, their friend says, and they don't even know what's behind it. They're like, oh yeah, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And I should think about this. And when you don't. You don't have to. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Yes, it's like being conditioned to make a bigger deal out of a situation than it is when it wasn't intended to be at all.
Did we just make a deeper meaning?
I think we did.
Is David?
I think we went there.
Is David overreacting parts of society?
Yes, he is. He is.
Okay,
we went there.
agree.
It just got real serious on the Maron After Show. Episode 4, making it happen.
Yeah. I hope we can get Mark in here. I'd love him to be on. Mark, we'd love you to be on the after show. And I'd love him to explain, especially an episode like this. Like, maybe there's nothing behind it. But he's a pretty smart comic. There's got to be a few things behind it. And he's probably run into situations like that.
Right.
You know what
I feel like he pulls a lot from real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's probably been some sort of talk or, some sort of thing that has come up from this.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is some sort of real
this is a great episode.
This was a great
episode. I enjoyed it the whole way, like start to finish. Like last week was enjoyable in almost like
a painful way.
Painful way. And this
so
week
heavy.
was just, it was entertaining from start to finish, and there was like a different point of the same topic being made.
Right, and he's definitely tackling like way heavier subject matter.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely this season. Even last episode and this week's episode alone are really kind of, heavy, touchy issues. It's like divorce and breakup and just like heart-wrenching, heartbreak.
Yeah.
And then, the whole sensitivity of race issues.
Yeah.
So it's just like
I wonder what next week's going to be.
I know, right?
It's going to be like, it'll be some other big issue. I don't even know what else you could throw in there.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty.
It'll be like marriage laws or something like that. He'll throw in there. He could tackle it. He would tackle it in a way much like other comic geniuses like Louis and other guys, and make it completely normal for a show. You know what I mean? It won't be like on this week's episode, like a sitcom back in the day.
Totally.
It'll be like. After you watch, you kind of go, this is great.
Yeah, like it's relevant, it's light in a way, but also poignant.
Yep.
Like it all ties together.
That's why getting your news from comedians is usually the best way to go.
The way to do it.
Yeah, if you pick the right comedians.
Right.
Yeah. That was great.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yes, and then, of course, we find in the end, it was Dave all along.
Yep.
Freaking Dave took the laptop. He said, I needed to really put you in touch with your racism. I needed you to really experience that white guilt firsthand.
And he's like, you did this. You did this the entire time. None of this was necessary.
Yeah, none of it had anything to
do.
do
You didn't question
with those
me.
people.
I was there too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thanks.
I know. Straight up called him out It was like...
Yeah. And like our friend Asia says, I'll be like, I said that at the beginning of the episode.
There you go.
That's it.
That's right.
I called it.
Hashtag Asia's always right.
Yeah.
Tune in to
that is
iZombie
right.
to know
That
what we're
is
talking
right.
about.
Yeah, iZombies on Tuesdays. Last
Check
episode.
it out. That's right. I just, my notes here, I just wrote,
Oh, yeah.
Dave took it, I would kill him.
That was your notes?
That was my episode, I would kill him. The whole entire episode, it's just like, man, just like Mark said,
Yeah.
like the whole history of human friendship, you are not the guy.
Yeah.
This is not a good example
Yeah.
of human friendship. It was brutal. It was mean. It was an intense thing.
Do you ever notice that he still didn't grovel and apologize? Like when he was on their couch and there, it wasn't like, oh, sorry, I didn't. There was none of that. It was more like, okay, I'm leaving now.
Oh,
So-
like Bruce, when he got to Bruce's house?
You know what I mean?
Okay.
There wasn't that groveling moment of, even after the awkward situation, they were still like, okay, we're just leaving now.
Yeah.
There wasn't that real, I mean, he felt bad.
Right.
But it was like, I'm
Oh,
leaving.
so I mean, should there have been? Do you
What?
feel like you would have? Was that necessary?
No, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, because I feel like, it wasn't meant to be like a direct or offensive situation
That would break
on
his
Mark's
character
end.
too. That's not
Yeah.
that's not what he does.
And I feel even still like apologizing for something that wasn't meant to be that sort of way
Yeah.
would just make it be that way.
Yeah.
And it would have I mean, I guess he could have because it would have proven the point that they were trying to make the whole episode.
Yeah.
But like to go down that road, it just would have made it, more definitive.
He should have said, I apologize for wasting your time and
Yes.
acting like I wanted to watch Mad Men with you.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then when
'cause
I
that's
wanted to
the
bring
true
this, that's,
crime.
yeah, that is the crime. That is the crime.
Is barging in. I'm sorry I barged in on you.
Yeah.
Unexpected.
Wasted your time and
Yeah.
act like I wanted to be chums with all
Right.
of you.
And you were kind and invited me in to watch Mad Men, and I messed up your
Yeah.
binge sesh.
Yeah. And the last note I made was just nervousness. Because
Oh,
he was
right.
on his podcast at the end of the show
Yep. His
saying,
wrap-up.
he's like, I don't think I'm racist. He's like, I'm not. He's like, I'm just nervous. And I'm just it's just nervousness in situations. Now, is that racist? I don't know. He's like, but I'll never go to the dark side. And he's like, but that was not.
No
the
pun
dark, That was
intended.
not. He's like, don't read into that. And then it just ends. The show just ends.
Right.
It's a great way to cap it off.
I mean, I think it is. It is.
Yeah.
That was a great summation
Yeah.
of the entire episode. I mean, just really like it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
These things happen. We try to deal with them as delicately or appropriately as we can.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get out of our hands when we have Dave as a friend.
Yeah.
But hopefully, hopefully we all, find a way to come to common ground with things like this.
Have you
And then
ever-
Mark doesn't have to be so nervous all the time.
Oh, he won't. He'll always be
He's a nervous-
on edge.
he's a nervous
But still
type.
a jackass.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to that Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles on the Pico? Or the other one?
I'm actually from Long Beach.
Yeah.
And so my experience with Roscoe's has really been the Long Beach
Okay.
jam. Yeah. in
I'm not a big
downtown
fan
Long
of
Beach.
syrup on chicken, but that's just me.
Right. I'm a huge fan of waffles in general. So just putting them with chicken is all the better.
Mark?
But I love
Engineer
Roscoe's.
Mark?
I'm a fan of blueberry jam, grape jam on fried chicken. To be perfectly honest,
Interesting.
Grape jam on fried chicken.
give it a shot.
Okay.
That is the first I've ever heard of that
That
recipe.
could be good.
Grape
It's
jam.
weird. I don't mind my
Very
foods
interesting.
mixing.
Yeah.
But when I had it, I just felt like there were two things that I love.
Right.
Sweet and salty.
Yeah.
But it's not like a pretzel. Like I couldn't commit. I was like, am I having breakfast?
Yeah.
But then like the chicken was, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah. I'm with
Yeah.
you. Sometimes that happens, with the mix of the
I
sweet
got
and
nervous.
savory. You had the nerves.
I got nervous.
You got nervous.
Yeah.
It happens. Sometimes you got to just like separate the
Yeah.
sweet and savory. Just handle your chicken and handle
Okay.
your syrup waffle, trading off bites. I think
Sure.
that'll do you good in the future.
Okay. I'm in next time.
For the next time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Loved this episode.
Yep.
Can't wait for episode 5.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Working on getting some guests. That'd be great.
That's right, Marc Maron.
We're trying to twist his arm.
I
Get him in
know.
here.
Get on here.
Yeah.
Get on in here. Awesome. Excellent.
Let's wrap it up.
I know. I think we covered the
The
heck
kids
out
want
of
to go
that.
to bed online.
They do. They
Yeah.
do. We're keeping them. We're really keeping them up with this.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for our Maron wrap-up of episode 4. I've been your host, Blake V. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Blake V Media, and on my YouTube show, Winos and Onesies.
It's a great show. We're touting our own stuff again. At Gilkerson Radio on Twitter. Also, I do some periscoping before or after shows, or maybe before I go to bed. Final thoughts of the day. Tune in. some really insightful things
Some
about
good entertainment
waffles
there.
and race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Jared carries on the Marin party. We like it.
Yeah, it's gonna happen tonight. Final thoughts. Tune in.
Get on there.
Later, guys.
See ya.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bruce, you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.